Hey, I don't really have much to talk about. I feel like I haven't really consumed or finished so much recently, but I guess one thing I could say something about. I just wanted to make something since I had some free time. Maybe I could talk a little bit about the books I'm reading right now, or the books that I just purchased and are planning to read soon. Uh, so right now, let's look through. So one of them is Aldous Huxley's The Doors of Perception, which is about his experiences with peyote and how it influenced the way it's a lot of it is descriptive of his experiences while he was on peyote, and after that, it goes on to more metaphysical stuff, and he kind of analyzes his experience. I'm actually done with The Doors of Perception, but right now I'm reading Heaven and Hell, so I'm not done with this book. I finished The Doors of Perception. I just have the second half of the book, which is Heaven and Hell, which is another of his stories. I'm not sure exactly what that one is about, but I'm almost done with this. Actually, I did recently finish a book called, I don't have it here because it was an audiobook, but it was called I forgot what it was called, but it was about the science of popularity, which I thought was fascinating. I'm reading this book of poetry right now. It is called You Get So Alone at Times That It Just Makes Sense by Charles Bukowski. Charles Bukowski is an author that who made a lot of stuff in the 50s, I think, up to his death in the 90s or something. I'm not good with the dates, but Charles Bukowski is an author that was recommended to me by one of my roommates before, and I've been reading this. This is the first thing I've read of his. It's a collection of poetry. Lots of great stuff over here. I'm kind of just like a third of the way through or so, but there are a lot of really great ones. Some of my favorite ones. I like Red Mercedes. I liked Retired, about his father. I really enjoyed this one. Retired is one of my favorite ones so far. It was about how he was this. I'm not sure necessarily if how Charles. I'm not sure how Bukowski writes, if it's actually personal and autobiographical, but at least in the perspective of the poem, the personas is discussing his father and how his father was like while he was alive. He was saying that his father would always talk about two main things. It was about food and retirement. How much he loved food and all the plans he would do after he would eventually retire. And it's the poem. It's pretty short. It's 2 pages here. And it says here he never made it to retirement. He died one day while standing at the sink filling a glass of water, never missing a day of work. So anyway, I thought that was very interesting poem for me specifically because I'm about to, I'm at an age where I'm about to graduate college soon and I'm about to enter the workforce. So this idea of, thinking about retirement and thinking about how to live one's life is very fascinating for me. So this is a great book so far. He wrote it in the 80s. Yesterday I bought 2 books yesterday. So this came through the library, but I also bought 2 books. I bought this one. It's called Hold On to Your Dreams, Arthur Russell and the Downtown Music Scene, 1973 to 1992 by Tim Lawrence. I'm very fascinated with Arthur Russell's music. I have one of his. Let's see, I have The World of Echo here. I'm just a big fan of his stuff, and I want to know more about not just about his life itself, because he's so fascinating. If you look at the types of music he was making, it says in the first line, it says, Arthur wrote classical music, avant-garde dance music, rock and roll, R&B, and sometimes country. He was just so unbounded in his limitations of what kind of music he was making, and I thought that was very interesting. And I'm very fascinated with this whole downtown music scene, because I just finished this other book recently called Love Goes to Buildings on Fire, which is about New York music history from 1973 to 77, I think. So this book over here, I'm hoping will kind of pick things up to the early 90s. So I'm reading that right now, or I'm about to read that sometime soon. And the other book I bought yesterday from a different bookstore is Allen Ginsberg's A Literary History of the Beats, the Best Minds of My Generation. And this is just because I recently upon reading about the whole countercultural movement in the '60s, and I'm reading more about I just read about the '70s with this other music book, but I'm very fascinated with the Beat Generation. I don't know very much about it, and I read that this book's pretty a good summary of it's like a collection, I think, of his lectures over the years about the Beat Generation, because I think he taught about it for a while, and he was part of it as well, along with Jack Kerouac and William Burroughs and all of that. So anyway, those were some books I got recently, some things I'm reading. There are other things I have on my desk that I just haven't even touched yet. I don't want to bring them out because it will mess up this camera thing, but I have Ingmar Bergman's autobiography, The Magic Lantern. I have Tears and Saints by E.M. Cioran. I have The Stranger and the Myth of Sisyphus by Camus, or Camus, I'm not sure. Aaron Copland's What to Listen For in Music, Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises, Alex Ross's The Restless Noise, which is about classical music up into the 20th century. I have Leonard Bernstein's The Joy of Music. I have lots of books here that I still haven't read yet. I'm still trying to read. And over up there on my desk, I have a copy of Infinite Jest, which which I stopped reading last year, but I'm like almost halfway through, I think, and I kind of took a break, and I haven't really gone back to it. Oh, I am reading this other thing. David Foster Wallace, Consider the Lobster, which is a bunch of essays that he wrote. But yeah, so I have a bunch of books. I'm reading them. Maybe when I finish some of them, I will talk a bit about them. So maybe whoever's watching this video will find something interesting and learn more about them. So yeah, those are the books I've been reading, or I'm planning to read, or I'm about to read, and I hope you check some of these out for sure.